When a new NBA season is about to begin, everybody from the average fan to credentialed media members get involved throwing out their predictions for how they believe the year will go down, ranging from predictions on how good teams will be, who will be in contention for the main awards, and which players are due to break out in a big way. That last one is where we'll be focusing on in today's video, as we'll be discussing 4 players in particular who are pretty common choices to be breakout candidates this season before it began, but now that we're approaching the halfway point of the year, have to acknowledge that they haven't quite fit that bill. I do want to say that them being on this list doesn't at all mean that I believe they have been bad players this year. They just came in with expectations of elevated play and leaps forward with their production, and for a variety of reasons, that hasn't exactly happened yet. Before we start though, I want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. PrizePicks is the perfect service for all of us basketball fans here because when you're involved, it makes watching games every night so much more fun and engaging. Basically, it's an application that provides you with lines on all kinds of individual player props, such as points, rebounds and assists, and three-pointers made, and you simply have to choose whether you believe they will record over the set amount in the line or under the set amount in the line. Make your selections, wager however much you want to, and if your picks hit, you can win big money. For some picks I'm looking at making today, I'm thinking of going with Anthony Edwards to score over 21.5 points, Kyle Kuzma to grab over 8.5 rebounds, and Tyrese Halliburton to dish out over 7.5 assists. If this sounds at all intriguing to you, then go down to the link in the description below and use it to sign up today, and use promo code REFERENCE to receive a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. Once again, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into the topic at hand. The first player we'll be discussing today that was expected to have a big breakout season but hasn't so far is Talen Horton Tucker of the Los Angeles Lakers. The power of the Los Angeles Lakers media holds over the overall landscape of the NBA world is crazy when you think about it, because any young player that seems to show any kind of promise there tends to get overrated into oblivion, which isn't necessarily fair to these young guys trying to find their way, but it's just the reality of the situation. Kyle Kuzma was one recent example before he got traded away this offseason, and now THT is the new suspect of this going down, being pegged previously as someone with legitimate all-star potential and even getting ranked ahead of established young stars like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in rankings published by national media outlet Bleacher Report not too long ago. When Horton Tucker was drafted in 2019, he was one of the youngest players in the class and had a lot of raw talent that needed to be honed. And ever so slowly over the years, he has begun to flash shot creation skills that rightfully so get the fan base excited. However, there's a difference between expressing excitement about a young prospect and declaring him the next big thing before he is that, and that always seems to be where people take it too far. Horton Tucker is averaging about 10 points per game for the Lakers this season, shooting a well below average 39% from the field and 22% from 3. In recent games, he even went a stretch where he missed 16 three-point shots in a row over a stretch of games, which tanked his efficiency numbers even further, and beyond that, he still has a lot of work to do regarding his overall decision-making and shot selection. He still may have the potential to break out down the line, but for now, we do need to pump the brakes a bit with him. The next player that was popular as a candidate to break out this season before it started, but has struggled to do so yet, is Kevin Porter Jr. of the Houston Rockets. KPJ has been through a lot in his short NBA career so far, but if there's one thing that has always been blatantly obvious since before he even got drafted, it's that the talent is clearly there with him. Porter Jr. was a projected lottery pick at one point before reports came out about some off-the-court issues that went down with him in college, and as a result, he slipped all the way to the end of the first round. He started his career on the Cavaliers and had a pretty solid rookie season with them, but unfortunately the concerns about his off-court actions came back, And after an outburst that started over new Cavalier Taurean Prince being given his locker, the Cavaliers decided to move on from him, sending him to the Rockets in a trade where they essentially didn't even get anything back in return for him. The Rockets gave him a fresh start. He took a huge leap forward with them that first year, took the reins of the team as a point guard, which was a bit of a new role for him, but his demonstrated improvement as a passer and playmaker made the move seamless at the time, and his shiftiness and creativity with the ball in his hands gave Rockets fans a fun player to develop and root for. His season was headlined by a 50-point game last year, showing that he is capable of elite explosions, and this year fans wanted to see more from him on a consistent basis, but instead his production overall has regressed hard across the board, and he's even had another flare-up in the locker room, notably leaving at halftime of their game against the Nuggets, resulting in a suspension. He's only averaging about 12.5 points and 6 assists per game this year, while shooting the ball 36% from the field and 33% from 3, all of which are down from a season ago. I've personally been someone who has rooted for Kevin Porter Jr. from the very beginning, because I, like most people who watch him, know he has the talent to be a special player in this league. We all just want him to stop getting in his own way of achieving it. The next player we'll be discussing that hasn't quite been able to break out despite preseason expectations is Killian Hayes of the Detroit Pistons. Hayes was a lottery pick in the 2020 NBA draft, but his rookie season was a pretty mixed bag filled with disappointment on the court and injuries derailing his ability to stay on the court. Going into year 2, the Pistons now have #1 pick from the 2021 draft, Cade Cunningham, to pair with him in the team's backcourt, who was expected to come in and at the very least take some of the pressure off of Hayes to run things and at most be the team's new star. The appeal with Hayes when he was drafted was his court vision as a point guard, along with his apparent NBA-ready ability to create separation off the dribble. In reality, though, he's been trending more towards becoming a bust than being a legitimate starting point guard, and that's what is most concerning. Hayes is only scoring 6.3 points per game this year, shooting a measly 34% from the field and 30% from 3, and along with his scoring and efficiency both actually being down from his rookie season, he's also dishing out fewer assists per game this year too. If he doesn't find his way and turn things around soon, there could be a chance that he begins to be challenged for that starting spot by some guys like Saben Lee and Frank Jackson, because even though the Pistons are still rebuilding, they have to be fair when giving guys an opportunity when they're performing well. And finally, the last player we'll be discussing today that was a common choice as a breakout candidate this season but hasn't really gotten there is Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Memphis Grizzlies. This is Jackson's 4th season in the NBA now, and after watching his growth from year 1 to year 2, it was disappointing to see him struggle with injuries in year 3, but now that he's back healthy, many, myself included, were looking forward to an even bigger step forward for him. He's not on this list because he's been bad by any means. There just hasn't really been improvement per se in the areas that most would have liked. The Grizzlies this season are probably the most pleasant surprise, performing well above expectations, and Jaren's defensive versatility has definitely played a huge part in that, but he's still not a great rebounder as a big man, grabbing only 5 per game, and one of his greatest strengths has been his ability to stretch the floor as a catch-and-shoot guy, yet he's only making 31% of his threes this year. His best performances this season have come when Ja Morant was out of the lineup, as he felt more comfortable embracing a bigger role, but realistically, he's not someone who will be a go-to scorer consistently, so his struggles while playing alongside Ja Morant are what need to be honed in on the most. Again, overall, Jaren Jackson Jr. definitely gives the team positive value on both ends of the floor. He just happens to find himself on this list because he seems to be taking a bit of a step backward overall, instead of continuing to progress forward from years past. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below who else you thought would break out this season but hasn't been able to do so yet. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.